Okay, so Portal Stories Mel is a fan-made game to the Portal series created by Valve, which was released in 2015, created by Prism Studios. Now, I haven't played that many fan-made games, but out of all the ones that I've heard of at least, this one, in my opinion, is probably one of the best. It's definitely, its production value and like stage design is almost like on par with Portal 2. But something that you'll come to find with Portal Stories Mel is that the test chambers themselves, the levels, are far more difficult and far more advanced than what you'll find in Portal 2. As I said in my Portal 2 review, I found Portal 2 difficulty level just to be a bit too easy. I kind of felt like I wasn't really thinking really that hard in some of the test chambers, and I wasn't really in the test chambers, each one for probably any longer than maybe 10 minutes. While this game, on the other hand, actually stumped me in a few places. I don't think there was a single test chamber in this entire game that took me shorter than 20 minutes. I was in these levels for quite some time. There was even one level, I think it was Chapter 4, Chamber 3, where I actually was stuck on the level for like about 3 hours. I didn't play it for 3 hours straight, but I played it tried to figure it out for almost an hour. I left it for a day, came back the next day, tried to figure it out, and then I left it for a week. And then I finally came back to it a week later, and after like about maybe 20 more minutes of tinkering around, I finally found a solution to this puzzle. It was a very, very difficult puzzle. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people probably found it simpler, or maybe more able to clearly figure out the solution, but it really threw me for a loop of just how much more difficult this game was compared to Portal 2. It really made Portal 2 feel like a cakewalk, to be honest. I mean, after you completed Portal 2 for the first time, you can basically almost like speedrun it, because once you know the solutions, that they're very easy to memorize. Though I don't know how a second playthrough is going to fare with me, because I've only finished the game about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's something I do want to really highlight in this review. It is much more difficult than Portal 2. So, being a fan-made game to the Portal series, but not actually made by Valve themselves, they've got to really be a bit careful of where they're going to place this into the overarching story of Portal 1 and Portal 2. And they make a pretty good choice of setting it in kind of like the immediate period before Portal 2. Though it's not really made clear of what time this is supposed to be set in, because when you enter the Aperture Science laboratories, it's all made to look like it's from the 50s and the 60s. Though after going in a suspension chamber and then having it break down and pulling you out of your sleep for probably not a very long amount of time, you're introduced to the personality called Virgil, who tells you that it's not the 1950s, but it's much later. But still, there really isn't a point in the game where it tells you that this is supposed to be set in like the 2000s or whenever the Portal series is supposed to take place. And so, I mean, the game does have a good story, but it never tries to like be the prime focus of the game, just like really the first two Portal games, even though they had great stories. And basically most of the focus is just into the mechanics. Now, I mean, the mechanics are very similar to Portal 2 because they all have the same gameplay mechanics. They have the light bridges, they have the coloured gels and blocks and cubes, and of course the portals. But the way Prism Studios were able to actually create these levels felt like they were much more aware of just how far they were able to implement these mechanics than what Valve did with Portal 2. And of course, like, Portal 2 was out for a few years when this game came out, so I think they were able to really study it and really being able to give you much more difficult and much more challenging and kind of like immersive, well not immersive, but like really more investing puzzle game experience than even what the best of Portal 2 had to offer, which I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that this was they really were kind of like really focusing on just making these test chambers very challenging for the advanced Portal player. They also did a really good job with the music. I mean, in Portal 2 the music's great too, but in Portal 2 the music kind of fades in and out when you interact with certain parts of the puzzle. Usually in most Portal 2 songs, like the very base layer of like the music is playing with a very simple beat. But when you start flying through the sky and like pushing buttons and doing things, several layers of the track come into play. And I really like how Portal 2 did that, because I can't really think of any other video game that really does this. And I kind of feel that more games need to do this, because it was a very creative way to kind of like make the music feel like a part of the environment. While in this game, even though the music is good, that doesn't happen. The track plays at full capacity with all the musical layers playing, no matter what you're doing in like the test. Like if you're not even doing anything, just figuring it out and just running around in circles, not knowing what the hell you're supposed to do, the music will still play and play and play and play. And even being like, because this is much more difficult and much more challenging, sometimes that can slightly get on your nerves, because you can be stuck in these chambers for over half an hour and the music just plays over and over and over again. So maybe if Prism Studios is thinking on making another fan-made Portal game, maybe they should try the technique that Valve did with Portal 2, because I feel that really works better with the gameplay, at least. Though the gameplay and the whole production value of this game is really top-notch, I think one criticism I'm going to throw at the game was the villain. Aegis was not a very threatening villain to me. I mean, you had to stop him. You had to stop Aegis from, flooding the facility and, killing you. He really didn't pose as a threat, and he wasn't really that entertaining at all. He was a very monotone robot, kind of very flat personality. I mean, GLaDOS is obviously the superior villain in the Portal games, because she's not just a villain, but she's also a bit of an anti-hero as well. She has a really big character arc that carries across both the games. And Aegis really isn't that. Most games have to have a weak spot, so I think this was this game's biggest weak spot. But since the rest of the game is so expertly designed and crafted, I guess I'll give the character of the villain a bit of a pass, because I don't think you really play Portal games to see an incredible villain. You just want to play Portal games to solve challenging puzzles, and this is what this game did very well. So overall, even though I did think the villain kind of was a bit dull, I found the character of Virgil to be very entertaining. And I found the overall environment that this game was set in to be really engaging and really immersive, and a lot of thought and detail was put into this game, even more so than what Portal 1 and 2 were. You can definitely tell that Prism Studios were very passionate about the Portal games, and they wanted to put their own spin on it and maybe add in things that maybe Valve didn't think of at the time. And I really have to give them points for that. Very good effort. Definitely one of the best fan-made games I've played, and I like how it's original. It's not like Black Mesa, which is just like a really vibrant like remastering of the original Half-Life or things like that. This was its own game with its own story, and yes, it does borrow and copy elements from the Portal games, but I'm fine with that, because that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, they asked Valve's permission, Valve said yes, and they made a brilliant game that improved on the mechanics of the first and second one, so that's all you really need to ask for. So if you like Portal 1 and 2 and haven't played this game already, definitely do it. It's definitely worth your time, very challenging. You might have a bit of trouble getting through this one, but just be patient. And that's all I really have to say with it. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care. Thank you.